The following is a presentation of the ACC Network, an exclusive production of Raycom Sports.
Bright blue skies on this January Saturday in Raleigh, North Carolina, and plenty of red inside PNC Arena as the 15th ranked NC State Wolfpack at 13-2 host the Pitt Panthers 11-4, coming off a great win on Wednesday night. Trey McGowan's 33 points, a Pitt freshman record. Torin Dorn leading the Wolfpack in a myriad of categories as we get set for basketball today in Raleigh. Hi everybody, alongside Dan Bonner, I'm Evan Lepler. It's great to have you with us in my emotional games for both these teams this week. A cathartic victory for Pittsburgh and a loss for NC State, but certainly one they can build upon.
Well, they can build upon it. You never want to lose the game, Evan, but I'll tell you what, the Wolfpack certainly demonstrated that they can not only play with everybody in the ACC, but with anybody in the country. This is a highly talented, exciting Wolfpack team.
And what about what Pittsburgh did earlier this week? The progressive play brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Get slam dunk savings today. Visit progressive.com. Trey McGowan's creating unprecedented plays for the Pitt freshman.
Well, you see McGowan's, he sees the crease in the defense, and he is quick enough and strong enough to get through it. And then in transition, would you say he's surrounded? I would, but still, he's able to make a circus shot getting to the basket. He was fabulous the other night, and he has been very, very good all season long.
Coaches like to say about freshmen, the best thing about them is they don't know what they don't know. McGowan's was impervious on Wednesday against the Cardinals. How will he fare today on the ACC road? We'll find out next.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by Food Lion, official supermarket of the ACC. By New York Life. With the right guidance, everyone can be good at life. By Coyote Tractor. And by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places.
First meeting between Pitt and NC State since last year's wild one inside the Peterson Event Center on January 24th. Pittsburgh in control much of the game, had a 9-point lead but could not hang on. A 4-point win for the Wolfpack. Food Lion starting lineups, no changes for Jeff Capel's Panthers. Terrell Brown makes his second straight start. There is some change for Kevin Keats. He's been mixing it up the past couple of weeks. Braxton Beverly scored 21 off the bench on Tuesday, back in the starting five this afternoon. One of 7 ACC games on this January Saturday. Delighted you've decided to begin your college basketball weekend with us here in Raleigh. Some say that's the best midcourt logo in the ACC.
One of the biggest, certainly.
Wolfpack win the tip. Markel Johnson will run the Pack offense. NC State 15th in the country, but coming off a loss, just their second of the year, as Beverly fires and hits.
Panthers playing in a man-to-man, and you cannot get that far away from Beverly. Now here comes NC State with their pressure. One of the important things that Pitt has to do today is to deal with this pressure in an efficient, successful manner. Man-to-man for the Wolfpack.
Johnson went for the steal, leaves Wilson frame open, but his three's off, and Dorn comes away with a rebound. C.J. Bryce to the basket, puts it in.
Well, you got to get back, particularly if the Panthers are going to shoot the threes, and I think they have to. They've got to make some to win this game on the road. But that three generates a long rebound and a very quick transition by the Wolfpack.
Well, I think Jeff Capel one day wants to play with pace, but deep down he's worried about the pace the Pack want to go at today as Xavier Johnson gets the Panthers on the board.
And that's what Johnson does. He takes the ball and drives it into the lane.
Johnson versus Johnson, Markel and Xavier. It's one of the fun things about the ACC this year. So many guards with the mindset that they can take over a game. Rice no good. Pittsburgh has the rebound.
Well, not only the mindset, but the ability to take over a game.
That's more important, you're right. Terrell Brown wasn't expecting the pass, and Markel Johnson gets a free steal.
That's a tough pass. He threw it in traffic, but if you're the post guy on a team, you better be ready for the ball.
Well, Wyatt Walker was ready.
Absolutely. You're standing close to the basket, you have to anticipate that the ball might come your way. Nice catch and finish.
3 different Wolfpack have scored in the opening 2 minutes. Oh, blow by. Johnson will get to the line. Wyatt Walker. Oh, and I'm not sure if he intentionally tripped Johnson, but 2 minutes in, there's going to be a stoppage, and things just heated up quickly.
And the officials are going to go and look at that and see if there's a flagrant foul in here somewhere. He got hit right in the face.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he did. Oh, my. Oh, my. He grabbed him and pulled him down. Now, he did get hit with the elbow as he drives into the basket. I don't think there's anything intentional there by Xavier Johnson, but he did hit Walker in the face with the elbow as he was driving to the basket.
I think more than that, Walker was perturbed that Johnson kind of slid his foot against his leg as he was skirting away from the play.
No matter whether you're perturbed or not, you can't do what Walker just did. You can't grab the guy and pull him by the leg. There's that elbow. He leads with the elbow. And, I'm not sure Johnson really did anything. He was trying to get his balance, and then Walker pulls him down. Can't do that.
That's obviously going to be a foul on Walker. That's not ejection worthy, is it?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's something that's left to the judgment of the officials. I would say that's a dead ball technical foul. The ball's dead. And so it's just like a flagrant one with the ball dead.
So Pittsburgh could get 4 free throws here, 2 for the Johnson drive and 2 more for the tee.
But they could, and it'll be Johnson shooting all of them because
he's third in the ACC in free throws percentage. A.J. Desai, Jerry Heater, and Tim Clockerty.
And I guarantee you they did not want to be going over to the monitor to look at something like this 2 minutes into the game.
Saw the reaction from James Johnson, assistant coach for Kevin Keats, and you can tell they were frustrated because they know that they don't have a ton of size. I mean, it's basically Walker and Funderburk are their 2 bigs, and that's an advantage they feel they have against Pittsburgh today if they can utilize that size.
Well, I think the only question here, the only item that they can possibly be discussing is whether there's any call to be made against Xavier Johnson. He did lead with that elbow, and you're right, he did drag his foot across Walker's leg.
Here's what they're discussing.
See, he's just going up for the basket. I mean, he wasn't trying to hit him with the elbow, but there he does drag his foot across Walker's leg. But whatever he did, Walker cannot do that.
Wyatt Walker starting his 16th straight game for the Wolfpack after he missed all but 2 games last year as a member of the Sanford Bulldogs. Graduate student from Jacksonville. What will the punishment be?
And that's really the only question at this point.
We were just visiting with the referees before the game. I don't think they imagined that they might visit us again so soon.
Well, not only did they not imagine it, they don't want this kind of thing.
A.J. Desai relaying the message to the official score, and Jerry Heater will relay the message to Dan Bonner. Kevin Keats getting the explanation. Free throws are coming for Pitt. How many?
Well, the key here is exactly as we said. It's not a dead ball technical foul. It's a flagrant technical foul. And so that means Walker is ejected from the game. So the free throws are exactly what we discussed, that there'll be the 2 free throws for the foul, then there'll be the 2 free throws for the technical. But Walker has been ejected from the game.
Wow. And folks in PNC Arena don't realize it yet, if that is in fact the case. Funderburk to the scorer's table, and Wyatt Walker not only to the bench, but to the locker room. 2 minutes in, Wyatt Walker ejected.
Evan, I actually think that's fair. You just can't do that.
It sets a tone that type of thing is unacceptable for sure.
He grabbed him and he pulled him down.
Well, the good news is DJ Funderburk has been playing really well. The bad news is he's going to have to play a lot of minutes today, and he's going to have to stay out of foul trouble.
Now, obviously, he steps into the spotlight here, that's for sure. Boy, an interesting twist here to start the game, huh?
Johnson goes 3 of 4 from the line. He's got all 5 points so far for Pitt.
And Kevin Keats, he's upset. He doesn't want his guy ejected from the game, but that is a lack of discipline on the part of Wyatt Walker.
All right. Kevin Keats, 34 and 14. The pursuit of win number 35 as the leader of the pack just became a little tougher. Trey McGowan, travel.
That's a really good job by Funderburk stepping in. One of the things that the Wolfpack has to do is make sure they know when Johnson and McGowan have the ball, they're going to try to go to the basket, and Funderburk stepped in, stopped him, and forced him to travel. Nice defense.
Jeff Capel, 11 and 4 so far. He's kind of on pace if you do the math to get to around 34 and 14. Of course, it's a different caliber of opponent in November and December compared to what he's going to see in January and February in his first year at Pitt. There's a traveling violation on Funderburk, and the Panthers will get it back.
Well, Funderburk is not a guy who's normally going to play outside. He has made 4 3-point baskets this year, but obviously, as you could tell right there, that is not his first option. He just shuffled his feet.
Dorn picks up Xavier Johnson this time. Inside to Adis Tony. And C.J. Bryce controls the rebound.
I'm not sure that Tony's going to get a better shot than that in this game. Mismatch on the inside against Markel Johnson. He's not able to convert.
Looking for his offense early after going 1 of 7, 36 minutes in the overtime win on Wednesday. First regular season ACC win for Pittsburgh in their last 24 tries. Markel Johnson and Tony couldn't control the rebound, and Funderburk's going to the line. Dan, it's one thing to win on your home floor in the ACC. For this young Pittsburgh team, can you put in perspective the different challenge on the road?
You play on the road, it's like a different world. There isn't any question about it, and it's one of the reasons why it's so difficult in this league, or any league really, to win on the road.
That was on Xavier Johnson as first.
But you made the point, and Kevin Keats made it to us before the game, is that as freshmen, sometimes they don't know what they don't know, and so maybe they don't realize how hard it is to play on the road.
Couple big games coming up on Tuesday. Early stages of the ACC conference season. Tony to the basket. That's the easiest shot he's going to get.
That's what you have to do if you're the Panthers. Once you beat the pressure, you can't back it off and try to set up your offense. If they're going to press, you have to make them pay for the privilege.
Dorn up and under. What a move. Defying gravity, Torrin Dorn. And then on the drive, this is what Keats is worried about. McGowan's getting into the paint and drawing contact.
Well, I don't know what game he's playing, but if it's Horse, everybody else out there has an H already, because this is just a fabulous shot right here. Remember, Terrell Brown blocked 5 shots against Louisville. There's nothing you can do about that. That's just a tremendous play.
That was on Bryce. McGowan 76% this year from the line.
Yeah, but going into that Louisville game, McGowan's was up over 80%. And he is a very good free throw shooter. He gets to the line 6 times a game, but in ACC play, he's now 15 of 27.
Well, Pittsburgh was able to survive against the Cardinals despite the fact that they missed 17 of 33 free throws for the game. 1 of 2 for McGowan's.
Now, Xavier Johnson is matched up against Markel Johnson, as you pointed out, Evan. And Xavier Johnson picked up a foul. He has got 1 foul. Let's see if NC State elects to try to attack him, get a second one quickly.
David Daniels in the game, looking inside. Funderburk lays it in.
Thunderbird doing a great job rolling to the basket after that screen. Pitt trying to react, but they're not quick enough.
Beverly the steal. 3-on-1. Behind the back to Dorn. And a foul. Transition basketball gets the crowd going in Raleigh. Torrin Dorn, chance for a three-point play. Welcome back to Raleigh in our Carolina Ford. Keys to the game are?
The Pitt Panthers, one of the most important things is they have to be poised today. You're going to turn the ball over against North Carolina State. You're going to give up some easy baskets, but don't make it 2 and 3 in a row. And for North Carolina State, I think the formula is simple tonight. You got to stay in front of McGowan's and Xavier Johnson. You have to make Pitt jump shooters.
Well, out of the timeout, Xavier Johnson's going to be on the bench because they gave him that foul on Dorn's drive. So that's 2 fouls on Xavier Johnson in 4.5 minutes.
And that's exactly what we were talking about. Xavier Johnson is such a key to this team that they can ill afford to have him in foul trouble.
Malik Ellison bringing it up the floor with Trey McGowan. They get tied up. It'll stay with Pitt.
And what we've already seen, that Kevin Keats' guys, they just don't press you full court. They jump you in the half court as they did on that last play when Beverly got to steal. And it's going to make it that much more difficult for Pitt to handle the ball with Xavier Johnson on the bench. A lot falls suddenly on the shoulders of McGowan.
Wilson frame makes a move on Daniels, step back jumper. And that's tipped by Thunderbird over to Dorn. Who gets credit for the rebound there? As the scorer deliberates, Braxton Beverly attacks the rack, and he'll go to the line for 2 more free throws.
Well, you don't get a rebound if you just tip it. So it was a good play by Thunderbird. Jeff Capel thought it was a goaltender.
Ellison picks up his first, and Beverly going to the line. Career high 21 points against Carolina on Tuesday, surpassed that great 20-point game he had. Take a look at a message from CPI Security.
Get the best security and smart home solutions all in one app from CPI Security, the official security partner of ACC basketball.
Beverly sinks the free throw. NC State doubling up Pitt here 5 minutes in. There's Eric Lockett getting some early minutes after he got the DNP on Tuesday night.
And this is North Carolina State can really wear you down with the fact that they can play 10 guys so they can get after the entire game, and particularly when you're a little short-handed as Pitt is right now with Xavier Johnson having those 2 personal fouls.
We do expect Pitt to be a little deeper today. City and Deer is available. The teams trade turnovers. Wilson framed the dish. Audice Tony, chance for 3.
And one of the things about playing North Carolina State, yes, they're going to press you, run the risk of you turning the ball over, but the game is going to be played at a pace where you can get turnovers too, and if you can get them, you can convert them into basket. That's just a bad pass, and this is a great play. You get the ball and you attack North Carolina State. Do not allow them to be the only attacking team.
That ended well for Pittsburgh, but the buzzword that Jeff Capel has been using is chaos, saying NC State likes to create chaos, and we're not sure if we're ready for that. Quick attack, Lockett unable to finish.
You want to be able to take advantage of the chaos. You don't want to be chaotic, but you want to take advantage of the chaos.
Thunderbird deflects it out of bounds.
And the other thing you can't do is Tony just tried to do right there. You can't force anything. You've got to make good, crisp, short passes. The longer the ball has to travel, the more likely it is to get picked off.
Wilson frame, kicks it out for Kenna Chukwuka. And a couple big baskets laid against Louisville, but there's another turnover.
That's just a question of big guys not being able to handle the ball. Hang on to the thing.
Blake Harris looking for Thunderbird.
Can anybody handle the ball?
Not so far. Wilson Frame gets a shot off. Over the back, foul on Chukwuka. Our coverage of ACC basketball is being broadcast on AFN, the American Forces Network. We welcome the men and women of the U.S. Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines stationed all around the world. We are so proud to have you with us today.
Evan, we were talking about chaotic play. That last shot by Wilson Frame fits the definition. That was a tough shot. You don't want to take that kind of shot against the Wolfpack. That's what they want you to do.
Daniels step back for two. I'll tell you, Dan, Devin Daniels went 0 for 4 in 22 minutes, just scored 1 point on Tuesday. Yesterday in practice, he barely missed. He was on fire. Blocking foul going on Helms.
Daniels, of course, is one of the transfers who sat out last year, and I think he's still getting used to playing again. And that you're trying to move your feet and get in front, but Helms, another step maybe would have helped. But Daniels is a guy, I think, as the season goes on, they're going to see more and more of what the Utah fans saw. This is a very good basketball player.
Ellison over Lockett, no. Gets his own rebound. Second try missed as well. And bodies collided near the free throw line. And fouls going on NC State as 4 Wolfpack come back to the scorer's table. Blake Harris picks up the foul and heads to the bench.
And Kevin Keats, if he doesn't like what he sees out there, he's got a lot of buttons to push over on that bench. Let's put a new group in there, see if they can do any better.
Well, it's interesting because NC State only has 10 available bodies. In fact, today they just have 9 as Terrell Brown throws it down. But they still are deeper than so many other teams in this league.
There's no way to describe what a good pass that was from McGowan. That was outstanding.
Outstanding, Zoe.
Well, I mean, he got in there and he was tangled up with 2 different guys, and somehow he got the ball to Terrell Brown. Here's City and Deer.
First appearance since December 15th after missing 4 games with a leg injury.
Well, 4 games and practices. The first time he really practiced was yesterday. So he's not going to be able to play a lot of minutes.
Wolfpack shooting 70%, but they've turned it over 5 times. Welcome back, City. Dishing it inside, and, well, Pittsburgh just turned it over for the 6th time.
Threw it into trouble there. That's one thing you never want to do.
Dorn, dangerous on the drive. Up and under, not this time. Thunderberg's tip wouldn't fall. It'll stay the same way, though.
North Carolina State is an outstanding team on the boards, and they showed you right there. They just keep going after. If you don't get that first bounce off the basket, if you're Pitt, you're in trouble.
The relentlessness of Torin Dorn showcased right there.
Dorn is really in attack mode today. He's taking everything and going right to the basket. He's 0 for 7 from 3-point range in ACC play, but that's not a problem when you're going to do this. Catches the ball, carries it right to the goal. That is an excellent play on the inbounds play.
Foul on Deer. Dorn, the team's leading scorer and rebounder.
And here's the change that Kevin Keats is going to have to make. Obviously, Thunderberg isn't going to be able to play every minute of this game, and so now Thunderberg comes out of the game, and North Carolina State gets very, very small.
Brown missed the lob. Rice the other way, and there's the second foul on City and Deer. So Jeff Capel was worried that he wouldn't quite have the motor to go for long because he hadn't played in a month. Well,
one of the things you cannot do if you're the Pitt Panthers is make difficult plays on the offensive end that allow North Carolina State to get out and go. And that's exactly what happened before. There's no reason, first of all, to try to throw that lob. That's a difficult pass. And then secondly, if you're Brown, just catch the ball, then go up and dunk it. You don't have to make the spectacular one-handed dunk. The result was an easy, fast break.
Officially, that's 2 fouls in 1 minute of playing time for Endear. He's back on the bench.
Man after my own heart.
That was your specialty back in Virginia, wasn't it?
Personal fouls, turnovers, headshots, blocks.
Wilson Frame. Jerry Heater says he was fouled, pulling the rebound down. working Wolfpack fans in Raleigh, but NC State leads by 9 in the first half.
Wolfpack off to a good start, and it's been a torn Dorn kind of day so far. Dorn certainly in attack mode. The spectacular basket opened up the scoring. Then Dorn, of course, we all know he can run in transition and finish at the goal. And then on the inbounds play, he's just stronger than everybody else. He's got 7 points. He's made 3 or 4 field goals. Also has a couple of rebounds and an assist. So,
and an early candidate for play of the day with that up and under.
that's really a good play.
His 113th regular season college basketball game today. Dorn ready to rebound, but it's a 1-and-1 situation for Wilson Frame. C.J. Bryce picked up his second foul.
And the Pittsburgh Panthers do a great job getting to the free throw line. They're one of those teams that make more free throws than their opponents attempt. So a big key today for North Carolina State will also to be play good defense without fouling.
So far today, the Panthers are 6 of 9 from the line, 4 of 11 from the floor, and they've turned it over 6 times. Dorn looking to attack again. Kicks it for Daniels. Helms, little teardrop. And out of bounds off the pack. No foul, just Pittsburgh ball.
Of course, if you're the Panthers, you don't want to turn it over 6 times. You don't want to turn it over any at all. But Jeff Capel knows that against this kind of North Carolina State pressure, you're going to turn the ball over. And that's a violation because it was a spot throw-in. Just because he's run along, just because he's taking it out on the baseline doesn't mean he can run.
It's a mental mistake.
Well, he's got a 3-foot little area there. He's allowed to go back as far as he wants, but he can't move out of that 3-foot little box.
Daniels forces it up, gets it to go.
And the problem for the Panthers is North Carolina State is taking those turnovers and converting them on the offensive end. That's why they have the 9-point lead.
Second bucket for Daniels. McGowan's met by a strong defensive stance of Helms. And Johnson rising up for the rebound. And the foul going on Ellison. And that is his second.
And so far, the Wolfpack doing a great job preventing McGowan's from getting into the lane.
Yeah, it feels like McGowan's has barely played.
Well, he hasn't attempted a shot yet. He's been to the free throw line one time. And he does have a couple of assists. So what they have done when he has gotten into the lane, they've turned him into a passer.
Been in the game all 9 minutes, but he has not attempted a shot yet. And that might be one of the focuses of this timeout call from Jeff Capel. This Wolfpack team enters today at 13-2. Kevin Keith talked a lot about how would we respond to the loss. Well, after the last loss, they won 7 in a row.
They're not a team of interchangeable parts. That's a good win against Miami on the road. But they are a team of very versatile guys. That game against North Carolina, they struggled early. But the difference at the end, they got right back in it. And North Carolina just made a couple more big shots than the Wolfpack did.
Shooting the ball 51%. That's best in the league. Obviously, there were a lot of folks who weren't sure exactly what this NC State team would be through the early stages of the non-conference when they didn't face the toughest schedule, but the win against Auburn was certainly a marquee win. And
North Carolina State only had 3 players coming back. And if you're in that situation, you don't go out and play the best non-conference schedule in the country. You're trying to put your team together.
They did. Daniels fires up an air ball.
I think what Jeff Capel was upset about is that all the 50-50 kind of balls seem to be going to North Carolina State. The Panthers seem a step slow.
Helms has a size advantage on McGowan's, who kicks it to the corner for the Davis 3.
And again, McGowan's penetrates in there. They force him to pass. You can see he's drawn a lot of defensive attention. So the other Pitt guys are going to have to step up and make some shots.
Beverly's 3 no good, but Daniels right there for the stick back.
And the Panthers had inside positions. NC State just out-toughed them that time. And again, we talked about the Wolfpack being versatile. Daniel shows you his versatility right there.
McGowan's first shot attempt, a little wild, but what a tip from Audis Tony.
Well, a lot wild, and Audis Tony bailed him out right there. But when McGowan's drives, you get to the basket yourself. He might find you, or you get an opportunity for a tip-in.
Ellum's going to work. Rebound, Wilson Frame. Going 1-on-3, doesn't care. Getting to the line, and Johnson lands hard on his back. Ouch. A scary fall at PNC Arena.
Oh, he tripped over his own teammate. That was Beverly running by, and he catches his foot, I believe. No,
Wilson Frame
Wilson
got him
Frame.
too.
He tripped over him. It's here. Wilson Frame is falling down. Okay, so it was Wilson Frame.
He got his hands down to protect him a little bit, but still, that tailbone is going to sting for a while.
Now, that's the kind of a play where you get your hands down to protect you. You could break your wrist.
Yep. The foul before the hard contact was on Devin Daniels, and that's what will send Wilson Frame to the line. But right now, more concerned about Markel Johnson, both for today and obviously going forward. This guy is just a consummate playmaker for this Wolfpack team at both ends of the floor.
Man, lots of times the old school definition of playmaker is somebody who passes the ball, but he's the new school definition. Somebody makes plays, he scores himself, he allows his teammates to make plays.
Look how high he got. And he hung on the rim, but he couldn't hang on. Undercut.
Yeah, he's hurt.
And they're helping him, kind of carrying him off the
They
floor.
are carrying. He's not putting any weight at all.
All right, well.
So the Wolfpack have lost 2 guys already.
They joined us late. Wyatt Walker ejected from the game for a flagrant technical foul 2 minutes in. So Kevin Keats went from having depth and 10 players that he felt were pretty interchangeable. Says we don't have much of a difference between our 2nd guy and our 10th guy. And instead, now he's down to 8. Wilson Frame's at the line.
And you just saw the view there in the hallway. They actually picked him up, and now they're carrying Markel Johnson. I just hope the young man's okay.
Certainly a lot has happened in the first quarter of this basketball game. And now it's a 4-point game. Pitt has a bunch of guys in foul trouble. NC State has one starter ejected, another injured, uncertain of Markel's status. Certainly if we hear anything, we'll let you know. Corin Dorn kicks it. Devin Daniels sticks it.
Daniels, over on the season, he's shooting under 30% from beyond the three-point arc, but he is a much better three-point shooter than that.
In practice yesterday, he looked like a 60% three-point shooter. Daniels has the loose ball. Runs by Tony. Takes it right to Davis and scores.
The problem there is when McGowan drives the ball to the basket, the defense collapses on him, nobody back. And so if he's going to miss, and he did that time, NC State has the opportunity to get out and go. And that's the thing that Pitt has to try to tamp down here a little bit. They're okay if they can get North Carolina State to play in the half court.
They got a foul on the pack. Don Helms.
Torin Dorn, we talked about the fact that he's really been doing a great job driving the basketball. Devin Daniels is wide open because the defense collapses. Daniels is going to make most of those. And then in transition, after the tough shot by McGowan, Daniels is able to convert. This is what we talk about with North Carolina State. They're very versatile players. Just about everybody on the team can get the ball to the goal. They can shoot the three. Very hard to defend.
Brown at the line for Pittsburgh.
And so far, the main business that Pitt has done has been at the free throw line.
Brown, the sophomore from Providence, puts it in.
And Xavier Johnson with those 2 fouls back in the game, and the Panthers showing a little bit of pressure. And they're going to drop back into a 2-3 zone.
How does that protect Johnson?
Well, as long as he doesn't reach in, it protects him just fine because he doesn't have to guard anybody one-on-one. The other issue that you have is a guy like Johnson likes to drive the ball, so he's got to watch out for the offensive foul.
Funderburk rebounds the Wilson frame miss.
And you'll take that shot from Wilson frame every time down the court. A wide open 3.
Inside, Funderburk had it blocked. Loose ball collected, and Dorn a little shaken up, coming down the floor slowly, leaving Davis open, and his second 3 from that same spot.
Cameron Davis is another guy who has struggled a little bit from three-point range this year, but he is a very good three-point shooter.
He's been just 3 of 16 in his last 11 games. He's 2 for 2 today to bring the Panthers within 4. Considering the foul trouble and how NC State looked like they had their mojo attacking the rim, Jeff Cable has to be pretty pleased to be within 4.
These guys have fought back, no question about that.
And Devin Daniels stays hot. He's got 13 in this first half. Scored the last 11 Wolfpack points. He's 6 of 7 from the floor. As Pitt turns it over.
And you talked about Devin Daniels. This is a guy we've seen him make threes, drive to the basket, mid-range, 6-point lead.
Back here in Raleigh with the Wolfpack up by 6. It's been a costly first half, though, for the Wolfpack. Wyatt Walker ejected. Braxton, Markel Johnson banked up. And then check out Torin Dorn getting his bell rung there inadvertently by Wilson Frame.
Boy, he really took a shot, a shoulder square to the jaw. You know, one thing about Torin Dorn, he's got a lot of attributes, and one of them is that he does not have a glass jaw. You know, he did not go down. He shook his head and came right back.
AC's a tough kid. Transfer from Charlotte, who was the Conference USA Freshman of the Year for the 49ers back in the 14-15 season. Feels like a lifetime ago. Daniels to Dorn, he'll take it. Rebound for Pittsburgh.
Boy, Lockett had great position. The ball just went over his hands.
Xavier Johnson playing with 2 fouls. That's the 9th Pittsburgh turnover this first half. Lockett wide open, buries it.
Coming in, Lockett did not have the reputation as being a three-point shooter, but he's now 8 for 12 shooting threes on the year. He's a guy whose reputation was he's going to slash to the basket.
8 of 12 will earn you some more leeway in terms of a green light shooting threes. Lockett battling on the baseline, wins the possession for NC State, and then Torin Dorn left his feet, didn't know where he was going. Kevin Keats' expression says it all, but the Pack have been pretty good in transition mostly.
And that's a wide open three-pointer is something that you can get in transition. The Panthers worried about getting back, covering the lane. Again, Lockett is a guy who his reputation is not that he's not as a great three-point shooter, but he certainly has been here.
Funderburk had the rebound, couldn't hang on. Brown from the foul line gets a gift.
So far, North Carolina State has done a great job when McGowens does get in the lane, making him shoot tough shots. That's a break for Pitt that they're able to recover. It was McGowens who recovered it, and then Brown hits the jump shot.
McGowens is 0 for 3 officially, only 1 point. And nearly a steal. Wilson Frame has it, and Devin Daniels fouls him, and that is going to be number 2 on Daniels.
Daniels came very close to wrapping him up there. If he puts his arms around him and wraps him up, that would be a flagrant 1 foul. But he slaps at the ball, so that's not a terrible foul because they got a layup the other way. Now they got to make 2 free throws. The bad part about the foul is it's number 2.
Yep. Rice also has 2, so does Helms.
Pitt now has made 11 free throws.
Feels like 100. 11 of 14 so far for the Panthers. Wilson frame, perfect 6 of 6 from the line. And again, it feels like NC State has been in control. They've led wire to wire, but the Panthers hanging around. Helms gets a step closer. It's too close. Daniels keeps doing what he's been doing.
Are you talking about close? Daniels doing a great job fighting for position on the inside. The Panthers, they've turned it over. They've given up too many offensive rebounds.
McGowan's unable to cash in on his first field goal, but how about Audice Toney pounding the glass? Chance for 3.
Again, Toney just does a great job recognizing that McCowan's is going to the basket to shoot it. The defense collapses on McGowan's. Look, everybody's surrounding McGowan's, and he's battling against Beverly for the rebound, and he's 6'6", leading rebounder for the Panthers. He's going to win that battle most times.
3rd foul on Daniels, who's been by far Kevin Keats' best offensive player today, and that's a friendly bounce. So, 37-33, 4.5 minutes remaining in the opening stanza.
So now Daniels has to be a little bit careful.
Still on the floor with 3 fouls here. His season high is 21. He's got 15 points in the half. Beverly. He hit his first shot and hasn't connected since. And it's Pittsburgh ball. This guy was the 4th scorer for the Utah Utes a couple years ago. Kyle Kuzma was their leading scorer. He averaged 9.9 a game. He entered today averaging 9.9 a game as the Wolfpack 4th scorer as well.
But as you watch Daniels play on tape, you just see his performance trending upwards.
Yes. No question about that.
The 3 fouls throwing a monkey wrench into his first half performance, which has been outstanding.
McGowan's fakes it and has it rejected by Helms on the 2nd try. Torin Dorn feeds Funderburk inside for 2. And now Beverly shaken up. Official timeout will take us to a media timeout. And Beverly looks like he's okay. We got ourselves a ball game. Our road to the tournament brought to you by the Honda dealers of the Carolinas. Look at NC State's upcoming home and home opponents. They play BC, UNC, Pittsburgh, and Wake Forest twice this year. The rematch in the Steel City scheduled for February 9th. Check out what happened to Braxton Beverly.
Well, this is what happens when you're 6 feet tall and you go inside. You get your arm pinned behind your back by Audice Toney, and then he thumps you with his hip. That's why guards try to stay on the perimeter, but Beverly battling inside.
Well, the NC State bench has scored 24 of their 39. Very few starters are available right now. Still no word on Markel Johnson. Wyatt Walker rejected. Beverly scored 21 off the bench on Tuesday, but he's back on the bench now. He did start today. 10 to shoot. Toney inside, Brown with good position, doubled, and denied. Blake Harris pushing the tempo and rejected by Brown.
Brown is a guy who struggles sometimes in traffic on the offensive end, but he certainly knows what to do on the defensive end.
3rd in the ACC in blocks per game.
Now, Blake Harris has a reputation as being one of the best on-ball defenders on this North Carolina State team, but that time McGowan's got by and he bumped him. And McGowan's has that little move right down. He gets a little bump and down he goes.
If you count Wyatt Walker, who technically has 2 fouls out of the game, 5 different members of the Wolfpack have multiple fouls with 3:09 to play in this first half.
That's what's keeping the Panthers in the game. Their ability to convert from the free throw line.
McGowens has 3 points, all from the line. Helms, teardrop, no.
Well, now the question becomes, if you're North Carolina State, where exactly are your offensive options out here on the court? Dorn, certainly.
Good question. Wilson frame fouled. That's going to be the 3rd on Jericho Helms. And 3 free throws are coming for Wilson frame, where he's already 6 of 6 on the line.
North Carolina State coaching staff has to be beside themselves right at the moment, because Gerald Wilson frame, he doesn't catch the ball cleanly. It's a tough shot. You want to contest it, but you don't go flying into a guy shooting a 3. Straight up in the air or take care of it. Now he's pulling up. That's a long 3-point shot. If he makes that one, you tip your hat to him and go down and play defense.
8 straight at the line now for Wilson frame. There's good news. Beverly's back in. Some of that scoring could come from him.
Well, that's true, but they get, every time they make a substitution, they get smaller.
What's the alternative?
There is no alternative.
Garrett Wilson frame, 9 for 9 from the line on the road in Raleigh in this first half. 12-4 for Pittsburgh, and there's another steal. Davis picks off the pass. Panthers looking for their first lead here.
This little press by Pitt has helped slow down North Carolina State.
Just imagine if Pittsburgh had half of their current turnover total, which is 10.
Well, North Carolina State, let's face it, on the season, they are a team that does foul frequently, and their style of play contributes to that. They're trying to pressure you.
Remember that graphic that we just saw did not include Markel Johnson, who is not in foul trouble, but he's in a different type of pain.
He's got other troubles.
Lockett, way off. Jeff Capel's team is in position to take the lead here in the final 2 minutes of this first half. McGowens to the basket.
And that's the first time he's gotten all the way to the basket with a clean look. And that's what he does. He is amazing with his ability to get by his defender and weave through that traffic.
First lead for Pittsburgh. Lockett. And it's going to go off, Pitt out of bounds. NC State ball.
McGowens just goes right around and he finds the opening. Harris, number 55, has to step in and make him stop.
Got away with a shirt grab the way you'd expect a senior to, not necessarily a freshman. Beverly, Lockett, Harris, Funderburk, and Dorn. Scoring drought about 2.5 minutes. Continues as Dorn was too far under the rim.
This Pitt zone has had an effect on the game too. Dorn, we've seen him make a couple of spectacular plays, not able to do it that time.
Kevin Keats looking very exasperated on the NC State bench. Hands in his pockets, trying to stay calm, but he's frustrated. Tony, I make it, Tony in and out. Beverly passed up the shot. Lockett has not been bashful, and he finally gets the roll.
After that bad miss from 3, he decided he'd take it to the goal, and I think that's what he needs to do. North Carolina State settling a little bit against this Pitt zone. I think they have to try to drive it.
The Wolfpack are shooting 49%. And there's a traveling violation, no basket.
Now McGowens he's trying to force things now. He made that one basket. Didn't get the jump stop. He tried to stop it, dragged that pivot foot, and he may have hurt himself. He's coming out of the game.
Of course, McGowan's a Hargrave Military Academy kid where Kevin Keats coached for a long time, and Coach Keach told us yesterday that he really liked McGowens. He thought he was going to go to prep school for another year and really thought about recruiting him hard for next year. And then he decides to begin his college career, and NC State didn't have any other scholarships available, so McGowens is a Panther. 22.6 seconds remaining. What a weird first half it has been.
And started 2 minutes into the game. 18 minutes left in the game, and Walker just takes and pulls down Xavier Johnson. Then Markel Johnson trying to block a shot. So here's your point guard trying to block a shot. Falls very, very awkwardly. They basically carry him out. And then Torn Dorn, he took one in the chops.
Yeah, definitely dazed. Didn't even show you the half Nelson that Braxton Beverly got put in. And still the Pack lead, but it's a precarious, slim advantage. Shot clock is off. Harris, Dorn, Beverly, Funderburk, and Lockett. Pittsburgh in a 2-3 zone.
Markel Johnson went out with 9:45, and since that time, the Panthers have a 5-point advantage.
Remember, Devin Daniels on the bench with 3 fouls. He's the leading scorer. Beverly, we've seen him make some big shots. Not this time. First half about as close as you can get as it all concludes. Coming up in the Hardy's halftime report, we'll look ahead to the top 10 matchup of Commonwealth schools, Hokies and Cavaliers this week, plus highlights and analysis. Hardy's halftime report on the way at the break. 41-40 in Raleigh. Welcome to the Hardy's halftime report. Try the new Angus Thick Burger Melts at Hardy's because it tastes better. A wacky first half in Raleigh, North Carolina today. 41-40 is the score at the break. Evan Lepler, Dan Bonner, we welcome you courtside. And Dan, to some extent, every ACC season is a battle of attrition. I'm not sure NC State thought they'd be losing as many players as they lost in that first half.
Well, every season is, Evan, but not every game, and that's been the case today. NC State, as we've documented, Walker thrown out early, Markel Johnson with the injury. So far, it's been a story of North Carolina State forcing turnovers and converting them into baskets, and the Panthers attacking and getting to the free throw line. Those are the two biggest areas of the game for each team.
We're fortunate to cover the ACC and get to see so many great games over the course of the season. One of the big games coming up this Tuesday night, Raycom Sports has it for you. 9th-ranked Virginia Tech and 4th-ranked Virginia. First ever meeting between these two Commonwealth schools as members of the top 10. They're combined 28-1 this year, and what a great game this was last year. Jerome's 3 at the very end would not fall. Kerry Blackshear's bucket gave the Hokies the win. The only loss of the year for the Cavaliers in Charlottesville.
Keep in mind that this is a Virginia Tech team that everybody thought was going to be pretty good, but I don't know that anybody thought they were going to challenge for the ACC championship, and it certainly looks like that now. They're an outstanding defensive team. I don't think they get enough credit for that. Everybody looks at guys like Alexander Walker and their ability to shoot threes, but Virginia Tech, an outstanding defensive team going up against a Virginia team that's built on defense. Cavaliers better offensively this year than maybe people thought they were going to be. That's going to be a great game.
Virginia Tech, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. What a couple weeks Kyle Guy has had shooting. And speaking of shooting, Devin Daniels had a pretty good first half for the Pack. Au'Diese Toney in that first half, 9 points for Pittsburgh. And the Panthers are within 1 at the break here at PNC Arena in Raleigh. Here in the North Carolina Capitol, we got a 41-40 score at the half. Off the bench, Devin Daniels for NC State was special offensively. And you wonder how many points he could have scored, Dan Bonner, if he didn't pick up 3 fouls.
Well, foul trouble has been a big story of the game, but Devin Daniels, you're right. In keeping with what the Wolfpack has done this year, they've gotten a lot of good production off their bench, but Daniels showed you that he could score in a variety of ways. The mid-range step-back jump shot, the drive to the basket, really a good, tough play in transition. This is a guy who has just created some opportunities for himself, recognized opportunities, and taken advantage of them. Here he does a great job on the offensive boards. The problem for the Wolfpack is they're running out of guys. Now, they hope to have Markel Johnson back in the second half. They're looking at a pretty serious contusion on his back, and they're also looking at his wrist.
There's been a lot of talk about the Pitt freshmen. Johnson and McGowan's typically have gotten the headlines, but Adis Toney made some tough plays in that first half.
That was important because Xavier Johnson went out early with a couple of personal fouls, and Toney, he's a guy who has shown the ability to score around the basket, and that's what he's been doing. He's been hanging around the basket, a couple of offensive rebounds, converting on the inside. At 6'6", he leads the Panthers in rebounding.
He was 4 of 7 from the floor. The rest of his teammates were 6 of 20. But his team's within 1, and that's what counts. Second half coming up.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by Geico, saving people money for over 75 years. By Gatorade, win from within. By your Carolina Ford dealers. By Bojangles, it's bow time. And by CPI Security, official security partner of the ACC.
Raleigh, one of the many North Carolina locales where you can feel the basketball history around you when you visit. Jim Valvano had some great moments for this program. The Pack leading by 1 at the break, and we've highlighted free throws for a reason.
Well, that's the difference in that's why Pitt is still in the game. They've only shot 37%. They've turned it over 11 times. They haven't been able to get inside the way they normally do, but they've been able to get to the free throw line and convert.
Beverly, Bryce, Funderburk, Dorn, and Daniels to start the second half.
And they start in that zone defense.
And Funderburk stays with it, gets a pair inside.
When you're in the zone and Terrell Brown has to step up to try to block a shot, that gives Funderburk some free range on the inside, and he took advantage.
He's got 8 points in the game. Pitt's leading scorers, a couple guys with 9. Wilson Frame has all of his 9 from the line. Toney from the outside shows he can do that too.
Well, Toney, he's not a great three-point shooter. He comes in shooting 23% from out there, but he obviously feels like it's his day today.
Dorn to answer. Funderburk again on the glass, and he'll get to the line.
The Panthers have done a better job moving the basketball, and Wilson Frame pulls the defense toward him. And then, you know, if you're North Carolina State, you can't be very upset about that. Toney's not a great three-point shooter. You've got to be more happy about the fact that you've gotten to the offensive boards on 2 consecutive possessions, with Funderburk been a huge factor here in the first minute of this half.
DJ Funderburk has come on strong for sure. He scored 48 points in NC State's first 7 games, 86 points in their last 8. And now he's in double figures with 10 today. Foul was on Toney, just his first though.
And again, just to remind everybody that Wyatt Walker is not available because he got thrown out of the game.
We did get an update on Markel Johnson. They say he's trying to stretch his back out. They have not ruled out a return, but it's not certain that he will return either.
And North Carolina State, much like the way they started the game, they're really pushing the ball down the court. That time it results in McGowan's picking up a foul against Daniels. Daniels, remember, has those 3 personal fouls.
The first on McGowan's, C.J. Bryce.
And Wilson Frame is going to get called for a push.
Bunch of whistles on the Panthers in the opening 67 seconds of the quarter. Lending Tree, know your score. How about Louisville and Chapel Hill?
Wow.
Virginia Clemson, tight one at Little John. Know your score is brought to you by Lending Tree.
That's really a surprising score. North Carolina and Louisville. Now Louisville was a very capable team. They lost the other day against Pitt in overtime, but Louisville is the team that can put some points on the board.
North Carolina played really well on Tuesday night, especially in terms of shooting. Kenny Williams and Cam Johnson. Funderburk unable to finish that time, met by Brown at the rim. Xavier Johnson. Well, we haven't talked a ton about him as he turns it over. Beverly behind the back, recovers near the sideline. Pack ball.
Now behind the back in a crowd is a risky venture. North Carolina State fortunate to keep it. Actually, I think he dribbled the ball off his foot. But this sort of looks like the way the game started. The Panthers are turning it over, and North Carolina State's able to get the ball to the goal, but yet it's only a 2-point lead.
That play by Xavier Johnson, last possession, is what you call a buzzer play. Jeff Capel sent someone to the scorer's table, and he's back on the bench.
You make a play like that, the buzzer sounds, you're coming out of the game.
Daniels for three. Not this time. C.J. Bryce has the rebound, and he's fouled before the shot. NC State fans wanting the N1, but Tim Clockerty says foul on the floor. There's our old colleague Jason Capel giving some aggressive counseling to his young freshman.
Well, Jeff Capel is really upset because the Panthers had that rebound. Brown had it in his hand, just wasn't able to hold it.
Brown picks up his first foul.
NC State has gotten an offensive rebound on every possession so far in the second half.
Feels like Pittsburgh's picked up a foul on every possession in the second half, too. And wow. Devin Daniels certain that ball was deflected. None of the officials agree. Capel, O'Toole, and Brown, all the previous head coaching experience. Pitt, the only staff in the country, you can say that. 3 assistants, and on the crowd letting everyone know how they feel about that last call. McGowan's kicked out. Davis for three is good.
He has hit 3 from the exact same spot. In the first half, that the right to corner, and now this time the right corner.
Dorn ran into a double team, kicks it back out, throws the pass off the foot of Tony.
That was an outstanding play by Trey McGowan's in transition to get back and create that double team.
McGowan's proven today that he can be more than just a scorer. Daniels, nice pass. Funderburk fouled inside by Brown.
And North Carolina State very unhappy. That ball clearly was tipped by Adis Toney, and that leads to this. They gave the ball to the Panthers, and Cameron Davis with his 3rd three-point basket of the game.
Gave that foul to Wilson Frame, his 2nd. Funderburk made the first free throw.
And Funderburk doing some business inside here.
5-zip.
Second half.
5-zip fouls so far called on Pitt in the second half. 3 minutes in. Getting across the midcourt line. Trey McGowan's 1 of 6 from the field, and yet it's a 1-point game in the second half on the road. It's a long 2, and it's good. Rattled in by Brown.
He's made a couple of those now. You don't really think of him as a pick and pop kind of guy, but he's done that twice in this ball game.
Change your expectations for Terrell Brown. Dorn unable to answer. McGowan's looking to push.
That's the first possession of this half where North Carolina State hadn't secured an offensive rebound.
McGowan's thought better of the push. 3 white jerseyed Pack were back. There's Brown inside. The half-court offense leads to a slam.
Funderburk switched out on McGowan's. That left Beverly trying to guard Brown close to the basket. Brown that time caught the ball and aggressively went to the goal. That's something the Pitt coaching staff has really been encouraging him to do. He's much more a finesse kind of inside player.
Largest lead of the game. Beverly unable to tie it. And that was last touched by Bryce. It's Pittsburgh ball when we come back.
And Terrell Brown is a guy who's more noted for his defense, but the nice little jump shot right here. And then when you get the ball close to the basket, you got to catch it and just hammer it.
Our Coyote Tractor Player of the Week Kyle Guy from Virginia. He averaged 25 a game and wins over Marshall, and Florida State made an incredible 11 straight three-point field goals, Dan, between the two games.
And you see that as a UVA record. Remember, a guy named Curtis Staples played at Virginia.
He could shoot.
And for the longest time, until it was broken by J.J. Redick, he owned the all-time ACC three-point record. And Jeff Capel has to be thrilled to death with the way his guys have performed. Panthers making all their shots in the second half. That always helps.
We were just informed by North Carolina State spokesman Craig Hamill, Markel Johnson not expected to return with a back injury.
That's the first miss of the second half for the Panthers.
Blocking foul on McGowens. It's his second.
He came very close to getting that steal, but then he wasn't able to disengage. You know, the amazing thing about this is McGowens has 5 points, Johnson has 5 points, and yet the Panthers have a 3-point lead. Tony and Terrell Brown carrying the scoring load.
And it helps to have a +10 advantage from the free throw line. NC State has also struggled from beyond the arc. And they had some opportunities on Tuesday. Daniels' floater won't go. On Tuesday, Beverly was 5 for 7 of 3. The rest of the team was 3 for 21. Today, the team is 3 of 13, and they're 0 for 4 since halftime.
Panthers are playing that zone defense because they've got some foul problems and because they're trying to cut down penetration to the basket. And you would think that would create some opportunities for three-point shots.
That was a I'm feeling good shot from Terrell Brown.
Yeah, it was. He's not really going to be successful shooting hook shots over Thunderbird.
Dorn wants to get to the rim, can't finish. That's the 9th consecutive miss from NC State. And McGowan's bumped from behind by Dorn.
And you talked about the fact that Markel Johnson is not expected to return, and you can understand why once you see this play. He lands very hard on his back. They actually had to carry him out. Has had a little problem with his wrist as well. We understand that he was in the back trying to stretch out his back in hopes of coming back into the game.
Obviously a concern going forward for the Pack. Wilson frame.
That's a bad shot.
I mean, NC State is a different team without Markel's explosiveness, and he was in the restricted area. So Thunderbird was fouled.
Well, being in the restricted area makes it automatic, but you can get a blocking foul. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that it was called a blocking foul because he was in the restricted area. Most of the time when the officials call block because the guy's simply because the guy's in the restricted area, they point at the line.
I wish we had a different term for blocking foul, because you'd say, you know, right there, Tony with the block, because there's another stat in basketball called a block. Can you come up with something?
No, I can't. We'll just try to keep it all in perspective here.
Okay.
Context. Do it in context.
Thunderbird's free throw ribs out. 2-point game, 14 minutes to play in Raleigh.
Let's see if the foul total is going to have an impact here as we go down the stretch. North Carolina State already in the bonus. We've got 14 minutes to play.
Until Xavier Johnson looking to make the safer play, but now the shot clock winding down. He needs to create. And well, his shot never hit the rim, and it's a 30-second violation.
That's a nice job on that sequence by Thunderbird, getting out to the corner and preventing Cameron Davis from getting a standalone three-point shot. Jeff Capel is saying that the shot clock kept running, that there should be at least a second remaining on the shot clock. And the officials are going to go over and look and see if there's any time left on the clock.
I'll take advantage of the extra timeout to chat. Kevin Keats has had a lot of different buttons to push this year. We take a look, and pretty clear. Well, I don't think it hit the rim, but I don't think it's clear.
I don't think hitting the rim is the issue here. They're trying to check and see if there's a second left on the shot clock. But the shot clock doesn't stop running until the ball is out of bounds. Let's see here. Up at the top of your screen, you can barely see the shot clock. Now it's gone. So, ball goes to NC State. Didn't hit the rim. Shot clock expired.
I'm not sure who sits at home playing wacky sequence bingo, but
wacky sequence bingo.
There's been a number of different things that could make it easy to win that game today.
I wouldn't think that a game called wacky sequence bingo would ever be easy to win.
Nor should it be. Helms hangs in the air, can't finish. NC State is on quite a field goal drought right now. There's Markel Johnson back on the NC State bench, but not with his jersey ready to go.
Looks like he's got some sort of a pack on his back. Can't tell whether it's an ice pack or a heating pack.
Either way, not expected a return. Rice spots up. Helms on the stick back, no. Out of bounds off NC State.
Helms was out of bounds when the ball hit him, so that's why it's out of bounds off NC State. The Panthers are very, very fortunate that they're still ahead in this game because they're really having a hard time securing the rebounds.
Well, Pitt has turned it over 14 times, but they lead by 2 on the road in the second half against the 15th ranked team in the nation.
And they're getting killed on the offensive boards.
On the drive, Xavier Johnson banks it in.
Johnson and McGowan's both are players who can make tough shots at the end of those drives. And that was one right there.
And they did it in key moments against Louisville on Wednesday night to snap a 23-game ACC regular season losing streak. Spanned nearly 700 days on the calendar. Wolfpack have missed their last 12 shots. 13. And there's a foul on the stick back. Pretty sure it's on Pitt.
It's on Audis Tony. Markel Johnson taking the ball, finding a lane, and despite pretty good defense, Xavier Johnson going to the basket, despite pretty good defense by Devin Daniels, he's able to get it in the goal. And that's a real skill. Now, a lot of guys can get close, but they can't finish in traffic, and Xavier Johnson can.
DJ Funderburk has scored all 7 points for NC State in the second half, which is nearly 8 minutes old.
And basically, it's a reverse of the first half. North Carolina State scoring from the free throw line, and they're getting to the line because they're able to grab those offensive rebounds and force Pitt into fouling situations.
14 points for Funderburk, but he leaves one on the table there. On the drive, McGowan's fakes it, takes it. Ground slam won't go. Beverly took another shot to the chops as Lockett goes the other way. Helms. Lockett, finally.
Another offensive rebound. Boy, we'll have to see what that might be a big turnaround in this game. Those were 2 points the Panthers should have had, and then they give up 2 on the other end.
15-7, the offensive rebounds. Helms pokes it away. And then he had it knocked from behind by Johnson.
Now, oftentimes it's tough if the ball's an air ball, but North Carolina State all over the offensive boards.
Torin Dorn for NC State came out really aggressive at the start, taking it to the basket, and then he took a shot to the chops from Wilson Frame, inadvertent. He has not scored since, Dan Bonner.
Well, he's had a couple of opportunities that he hadn't been able to convert, and I don't know whether that particular play has had That is the impact factor right there, but you can see, started out very well, has gone cold since then.
Pittsburgh by 1. NC State inbounding from the baseline, fresh shot clock, and nearly a turnover. McGowan's deflected into the backcourt.
Panthers made 18 free throws in the first half. They haven't attempted one here in the second.
Daniels teardrop. Funderburk on the glass again.
That is now 16 offensive rebounds in this game for North Carolina State.
Feels like Funderburk has half of them. Great digging defense. Daniels deflects it. The arrow belongs to Pittsburgh. Panthers will keep it.
Funderburk is just doing a great job getting in position. Watch as Brown steps toward the shooter, and that leaves the middle wide open, and Funderburk fills in the gap.
Corresponding stat to the free throws. Pitt, ton in the first half, none in the second half. NC State picked up 13 fouls in the first half. Only 1 so far in the first 9 minutes of the second half. There's the second.
Well, they're going to get some free throws now.
Yes. First on Funderburk. Xavier Johnson going to the line.
This is really a good play by Xavier Johnson. He knows that if he goes up, Funderburk's directly up, Funderburk's probably going to block it. Nice fake.
I'd say the thing that stands out most for Xavier Johnson today, Dan, for a guy who's 3rd in the ACC in assists per game, he has no assists, and he's only played 13 minutes so far.
He hadn't played very many minutes, and keep in mind that he has scored in double figures in every game he's played in a Pitt uniform. That's 9 points now.
Pitt retakes the lead. Our 7th lead change. Pack will keep it on the baseline.
That's the 4th blocked shot of the game by Terrell Brown. He moves his feet very well, does a nice job keeping his body straight up and down.
Beverly hit an early 3, and he's been pretty quiet since. Only 4 points in the game. Daniels has been the offensive go-to guy other than Funderburk. Numbers for the Panthers. McGowan's doesn't need any help.
Now Beverly really in trouble right there, and he tried to fool McGowan's, but McGowan's realized that Beverly was going off, and so he went right to the basket.
Beverly turns it over. Wilson Frame ahead to Johnson.
Really a nice play by Wilson Frame, the interception, and then the ball was out of his hand almost as it got there.
Double figure streak continues for Xavier Johnson. He's now got 11. And the lead is 5. Largest of the game for Pittsburgh. Wolfpack have really gone cold at this end.
And they've saved themselves with offensive rebounds.
Funderburk, another opportunity for one, deflected out, and Beverly controls. Daniels. Offensive foul is the call. Kevin Keats displeased.
Most of the time, when you go with your shoulder into the chest of the defender, that play is going to be called. And the fact that Johnson was moving doesn't make it a blocking foul. You're allowed, once you establish guarding position, you are allowed to move laterally or backwards to maintain that position. And that's exactly what Xavier Johnson did. The officials have issued a warning to the North Carolina State bench.
And perhaps even more importantly, that was the 4th foul on Daniels, and now he's on the bench.
That is more important.
Pittsburgh by 5 with the ball. Offensive foul on Wilson Frame. 3rd on Jared Wilson Frame.
The Pitt Panthers doing a great job in transition here with the basket by McGowan's, who fools Beverly, and then the trap. Now North Carolina State, the team noted for defense, turning it into offense, but the Panthers get it done that time.
And our keys to the game at the top, you talked about Pittsburgh's poise. How would you grade it?
You're going to turn it over. You're going to have some struggles. You just have to keep playing. And that's what the Panthers have done. I would grade it very high.
Funderburk, no good for 3.
Now he can shoot it from out there. He's 4 out of 8, but I don't like that shot because it means he's not under the basket trying to get the offensive rebound.
And his offensive rebounds have been the NC State offense here in the second half. NC State is 3 of 23 in the second half.
Wolfpack has to figure out a way to get some easier shots.
Garrett Wilson framed, still looking for 3. That's going to continue his streak. He's made one in 26 straight games. Lockett finally breaks the ice.
And the Panthers help him. That was a tough shot, a long shot. You can get that anytime in the shot clock. The long rebound results in a transition basket. That's exactly what the doctor ordered for North Carolina State.
We're under 8 minutes. Wolfpack fans trying to will their team to a defensive stop. Brown inside. He traveled.
That's not going to end well. Brown is a guy who can catch the ball and score in one step, but if he's got to make a move, he's in trouble. North Carolina State, we said they needed to get easy baskets. Nothing easier than Lockett in transition.
Back inside PNC Arena, it's the 109th season of NC State men's basketball. You got some great fans here in Raleigh that are trying to help out what all of a sudden has become an undermanned team. Wyatt Walker, the big man, ejected 2 minutes in for the flagrant intentional foul. And then Markel Johnson goes down with a back injury, not expected to return. Meanwhile, Devin Daniels, leading scorer today on the bench with 4 fouls. Here's Beverly. Funderburk gets the bounce.
Funderburk has 12 points in the second half, and that is his 5th offensive rebound in the second half alone. He has been a dominant force inside.
He's got a career high, 18 points. He's the new leading scorer for the Pack. Johnson knew he missed the first try, and then he was wild on the second. It's amazing how many offensive rebounds the Pack have gotten here in the second half. Now, Pitt does have the worst defensive rebounding percentage in the ACC. And the Pack average about 13 offensive boards a game. McGowans comes up with a steal.
Nice job by the Wolfpack getting back. Well, the Panthers, they're playing a zone defense, and they're not a zone team.
Tony for 2.
They've actually ruled out a 3.
Did they? Timeout called by Jeff Capel after the bucket that gives Pittsburgh a 4-point lead. Back after this, NC State's DJ Funderburk, now the game's highest scorer with 18 points.
He's just finding holes in that zone. They have a tough time blocking him out against the zone, and he's converted 5 offensive rebounds in this half. And here's Audice Toney out in the corner. Toney is a guy who we said he's not a great 3-point shooter, but he gets himself in great position for a 3. That's 2 he's knocked down. He's now got 15 points in this game to go along with 6 rebounds. And the Panthers, they're normally a man-to-man team, and lots of times if you're a man-to-man team playing zone, you have a tough time with blocking out in the zone, and the Panthers have certainly struggled with that in this half.
That's a huge shot from Eric Lockett to make it a 1-point game.
Lockett is now 2 of 3 from out there. The one he missed was a bad miss. He just needs a little bit of time and room.
McGowans tees it up. Rebound for Dorn. 8th board for Torin Dorn. Back to Lockett again. Johnson answers to retie the game at 63.
You talk about poise for the Panthers. There's some poise right there. This place going crazy. Nice patience.
Pass to Funderburk was a good idea. Knocked out of bounds, 21 to shoot.
Now NC State looking for some offense, and the guy who's providing it is Lockett. Lockett with the long 3-point shot. And then he gets another one.
This is a guy who didn't play against UNC. Rebound controlled, Lockett. More free throws for a guy who played 6 total minutes in NC State's first 2 ACC games combined. They need him today. He has come through. Au'Diese Toney just picked up his 4th foul. That's tough news for Pittsburgh's leading scorer today.
Toney has been such a huge factor. North Carolina State now has more offensive rebounds than they do defensive rebounds.
You don't see that very often.
Now they've just dominated the inside. Some of it has been they've done a great job getting position. Some of it has been that the Panthers, for whatever reason, they touch the ball and they're not able to control it.
Eric Lockett went to Whitefield Academy. Was on the Wolfpack in high school. He's had quite a journey. Member of the Wolfpack again. Having a big game, his best game as a member of the pack. Pittsburgh looking for its first win on the road in the ACC in almost 2 full years. Johnson's pass knocked out of bounds with 11 to shoot.
That was a tough pass. Even if Brown catches that ball with Funderburk right on top of him, there's not much he's going to do with it. 11 seconds left on the shot clock. Decision making is going to be big here for the Panthers. Haven't heard anything from McGowan's for a while.
Wilson frame, not his day.
Boy, that's another tough shot. You draw the defense like that, find the open man.
Lockett, extra pass, Dorn buries it.
That's his first 3 in ACC play.
Timeout, Pittsburgh. NC State connecting from long range to retake the lead.
And the 3-point basket, they've struggled shooting threes the entire game, but these last 3, 2 by Lockett and 1 by Dorn, have really helped get them going. In fact, overall, Evan, the Wolfpack started this half shooting 4 for 25. They've now made 4 out of their last 5, including those 3 3-pointers. And there's Dorn. You know, we showed you he took that shot, but he has come back nicely.
Dorn's in double figures with 10, his 14th double-figure game this year. The NC State bench has scored 50 of their 68 points. Wolfpack bench scored 62 in a game in December. This matches their 2nd highest scoring bench performance of the year. Brown juggled it. Toney back in with 4 fouls, gets 2.
And that's one of the problems with Terrell Brown. He doesn't always catch it cleanly. A break for Pitt right there. That's a basket they really needed. And Au'Diese Toney now has 17 in the game.
He had scored 11 points combined in his first 2 ACC games. Shot 1 of 7 from the floor against Louisville. Toney today is 7 of 10. Funderburk to Beverly. Boom!
NC State, a very good 3-point shooting team. They've shot the ball very poorly for most of this game, but the law of averages catching up with the Panthers right now.
Wilson frame has had a wacky day himself. He's 9 of 9 from the line and 0 for 9 from the field.
And unfortunately for the Panthers, he's taken a couple of bad shots recently. That wasn't one of them.
Dorn gives it up. Still 12 to shoot. Bryce takes it. Makes it. They're making everything all of a sudden.
Well, as you would expect, because they were missing everything before. Panthers desperately need a basket.
And there's a chance for 3. Xavier Johnson quiets the crowd.
North Carolina State moving the ball very well against the zone. Beverly passes it. Look at Beverly. He passes the ball inside and then runs to an open spot. If he stands there and is a spectator, he doesn't get that one. But Xavier Johnson, as he's done is all year long, he takes the ball, drives it to the basket, makes a big play.
Completes the three-point play. If you can have a quiet 16, I'd say Xavier Johnson's had it today.
Well, we haven't heard anything from McGowan's recently. McGowan's
got 7 points.
Stuck on 7 points. McGowan's has only scored 2 points in the second half. North Carolina State doing a great job finding him, defending him.
Just picked up his 3rd foul.
And North Carolina State, they got fouled so many times on offensive rebounds early in the half. They're in the double bonus now.
C.J. Bryce to the line for the Pack. Our performance of the game brought to you by your local Chevy dealers. And when Wyatt Walker left, DJ Funderburk had a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. 18 and 8 is pretty good.
But it is pretty good, and Funderburk is the guy that kept North Carolina State in the game when they were on that 4 for 25 stretch. He had 5 offensive rebounds.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by Geico, saving people money for over 75 years. By Food Lion, official supermarket of the ACC. By your local Chevy dealers. And by Lending Tree, official loan shopping partner of the ACC.
They got some good-looking statues here in Raleigh. We saw Yao and Valvano earlier, now Case and Sloan.
They really do. Those are great-looking statues. The only criticism I would make is
here we go.
That bronze statue of Norton Sloan really doesn't do him justice because you can't see the color of the sport coat.
All right. Don't forget, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. Some of you will see the Wolfpack at Wake Forest. Others will head to Charlottesville for a top 10 matchup. Tim Brando and Dan Bonner will help narrate the Hokies and the Cavaliers. Virginia has another win on the road. They won by 20 at Little John Coliseum over Clemson. Johnson, tough little up fake to get Funderburk off his feet.
That's twice now that we've seen Johnson get Funderburk in a tough position. But the Panthers now, they're not a great three-point shooting team, and they've really got to tighten it up on the defensive end if they're going to come back 2 at a time.
Johnson 7 of 8 from the line. It's boat time, means we're checking out some of the Bojangles fan of the game. She's been dancing all day long. 1 of 2 for Johnson.
Well, now you're looking for stops.
6-point game. NC State will take it under 2 to play.
Funderburk's got a mismatch inside against Xavier Johnson. Wilson Frame switches over, but that's not much better.
Neither Brown nor Chukwuka's out there. Beverly banks it in with a kiss. Almost a must-score trip for Pittsburgh. Johnson, wild shot, gets it to go.
How did that one go in the basket?
That's your job to answer that question.
Well, it's a question I can't.
All of a sudden, Xavier Johnson's got 19. He's the leading scorer in the game. And Eric Lockett shaken up.
And he must really be hurt because most guys are hurt on defense. They're not hurt on offense.
Lockett, career high as a member of the Pack, 17 points. He had 30 against UNC Charlotte for Florida International University last year.
Lockett passes the ball inbounds.
Ooh.
He got hurt when McGowan's ran into the screen. The officials are going to look at that and see if that was a flagrant foul.
Season high 17, one of 4 NC State players in double figures. Funderburk with 18, Daniels with 15, all of which came in the first half, and Dorn has 10.
Well, and you cannot overstate the importance of Lockett today either. We've talked about how Funderburk helped keep him in the game, while Lockett, particularly with his three-point shooting, helped give him some distance. McGowan's just runs right into him. You know.
Did you see anything malicious with the elbow?
I did not. But the decision isn't mine. It just looked like he ran into him.
If the decision was yours, I bet it would be made more quickly.
Well, we wouldn't go over to. I'm opposed to reviews of any kind, so.
Watch the right arm.
Well, did he? I think are the officials looking to see that right arm of McGowan's? Did he actually hit him intentionally with that right arm?
Only McGowan knows for sure, but I think you could make a case from that footage that he did. Some evidence there. Of course, evidence does not always mean guilt.
Oh, so it's just nothing.
All right, 1:13 to go. Packed by 6 with the ball. They've got the possession arrow.
And the Panthers now, of course, they've been back into the man-to-man because they can't afford to sit back in that zone any longer. The zone was very effective for everything except getting defensive rebounds.
Daniels playing with 4 fouls. There's his first basket of the second half.
Boy, he can do a lot of things with the basketball.
He really can. Just a knack for drawing contacts on the drive. Free throws coming. Check out Daniels.
Look how well he maintains control. He sort of, the ball bounces in a funny manner, and he's got to re-grab it, but he doesn't panic.
Officials will confer once again.
Johnson is bleeding, I think. Well, maybe not. Now they're going over to look at the monitor again.
Official timeout with 53.6 to go. Gives me a chance to ask you a question I've wanted to ask you looking ahead to Tuesday. How do you think the Hokies will match up with the Wahoos at John Paul Jones Arena?
I think the Hokies will match up with them very well. We said Virginia Tech much better defensively than people give them credit for.
Didn't see much there.
Well, they may be trying to decide who the foul's on. Maybe they're trying to decide how much time is left on the clock.
I say that was my biggest takeaway from watching Virginia Tech in person last Saturday. They defend as a group of guys that have been playing together for a while. They've got incredible cohesiveness with their main core.
Well, they do a great job keeping the ball out of the lane. You know, it's hard to drive the ball into the lane against Virginia Tech, and you know, they shoot the ball very well. And keep in mind that Virginia only lost one ACC game last year, and that was their game at home against Virginia Tech. So the Hokies certainly extremely capable.
Tough test for Tony Bennett's team Tuesday night. And of course, the Wolfpack will be in Winston-Salem. I'll be at the Joel alongside Corey Alexander. For that one, Tim Brando, Dan Bonner will have the call from JPJ.
All right, so it caught me off guard, but what happens is when the ball goes through the basket, when there's under a minute left in the game, then you stop the clock. And what happened was that the scorer here, the timer here, stopped the clock when the ball went in the basket at 1 minute. And so the officials, being really alert, they took 3 seconds off the clock, because the clock should not stop at 1 minute. It has to be under 1 minute before you stop the clock on a made basket.
Our eagle-eyed officials with a catch. Couple free throws for Johnson.
It's amazing all the things you have to pay attention to if you're an official.
How about final score? Louisville 83, UNC 62.
The surprising part about that isn't the result, even though it is at North Carolina. It's that North Carolina has 62.
And the margin of victory.
Yes.
Thought Louisville could maybe win that game, but not by 21. McGowan's fouls Bryce. 4 on McGowan's.
But Louisville the other night against Pittsburgh in a game that they lost in overtime, they just could not keep McGowan's and Xavier Johnson out of the lane. Obviously a better defensive job today against the Tar Heels. That's an amazing result.
Well, Chris Mack was very critical of his team, especially defensively, after the Pittsburgh game. And they responded. Looking forward to watching the film of that one. Meanwhile, Markel Johnson has been on the bench for most of the game. He's only played 9 minutes. Wyatt Walker has only played 2 minutes. Wolfpack have gotten 52 points from their bench, and they lead by 8 with 37 seconds to go.
Well, Funderburk just went out and got a big hand. He deserves it.
2 more for Xavier Johnson. Timeout, Pittsburgh. The Panthers had an opportunity here, Dan, to steal one on the road against a really good team, and barring something crazy in the last 31 seconds, and we've seen crazy in this league before, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Pittsburgh goes back home after this to face Florida State.
You're absolutely right, Evan, and particularly at the beginning of the second half, we've documented that to start the half, North Carolina State, their shooting numbers were 4 for 25, but during that stretch, they dominated the offensive boards. They went 6 or 7 possessions at the beginning of the half before they failed to get an offensive rebound.
It has been an incredible game in terms of unique plays. 2 minutes into the game, Wyatt Walker thought he was kicked by Xavier Johnson. He pulls the leg out and he gets ejected for that. And then later, Markel Johnson trying to go for the block, gets undercut unintentionally by Wilson Frame, but he gets carried off and he is not returned. And then Torin Dorn also got his bell rung.
Just 2 guys running into one another. And keep in mind that Markel Johnson went out of the game with 9 minutes and 45 seconds left in the first half. So basically, the Wolfpack have played 3/4 of this game without their point guard, and they have played it very successfully.
Beverly's got to the corner man a couple times, too. I mean, it's a 15-round fight every time you play an ACC game.
And that North Carolina-Louisville score gives you a perfect indication how deep this conference is.
That's a great point.
If you go out and you do not play well, you run the risk of losing the game. And North Carolina State did not play well in stretches, but they did some of the things they had to do to keep themselves in it, and they're going to walk out of here with a win.
Dorn fortunate to get that pass away to Lockett, who just flings it forward. Daniels all alone with the exclamation point. Johnson rejected with 13 seconds left. Wilson Frame will keep his 3-point streak alive.
That may have been the toughest 3-point shot he's attempted
He's
today.
made a 3 in 27 straight games. Only Miami's DJ Vasiljevic has a longer active 3-point make streak.
Well, that foul is called against McGowan's, and McGowan's, after scoring, 33 the other day, only gets 7 today, only 2 in the second half.
On Wednesday, he was 12 for 19. Today is 2 for 9. McGowan's fouls out with 10.4 on the clock.
It's been a very frustrating afternoon, particularly a frustrating second half. He just wasn't that involved in the second half, Evan.
And I mean, he had scored at least 15 in each of their last 4. No Pitt freshman ever had scored 15 or more in 5 straight games, and that will continue.
Well, he only attempted 3 shots in the second half.
Yeah, NC State, I mean, credit their man-to-man defense. They stayed in front of him.
Right, if he had the element of surprise, McGowan's, he lost it in that Louisville game. You know you got to stay in front of him, keep him out of the lane. McGowan's did have 7 assists today.
Dorn tracks the rebound, and he's fouled with 7.8 on the clock.
Well, that's the story, basically, of the game, particularly of the second half. The fact that Kevin Keats' guys have been able to track down offensive rebounds.
That's 5 fouls on Au'Diese Toney. 17 points for him. But Kevin Keats' team is going to escape.
North Carolina State has 21 offensive rebounds. That's the difference in the game. That and the fact that they finally started making a couple of shots in the second half after going 4 for 25 to start the half.
Second chance points, 22-12. Dorn, one of 4 members of the pack in double figures. NC State, for the first time since the 14-15 season, 2-1 in their first 3 ACC games. Some garbage points for Xavier Johnson, but Pitt could not hang on. Final score, NC State 86, Pittsburgh 80. For highlights and must-see moments from this game and others, check out theacc.com. Don't forget Tuesday night, Virginia Tech in Virginia. Also NC State at Wake Forest starting at 8 p.m. For Dan Bonner, Evan Lepler saying so long. You've been watching coverage of ACC Hoops, exclusive production of Raycom Sports.